We're trying to track down Senator Rick Santorum. Things are hectic when you're on the presidential campaign trail, and they're trying to track him down right now and get him on the phone for us. We do have his number as well, but there's no answer. So I'm guessing he's probably in the middle of Iowa somewhere, and some precious Iowa voter saying, one more thing, Senator, and another. And say, don't forget to, these guys literally have to do, what do they call that, retail politics, when you're pressing the flesh and you're going at it one by one. We're less than a month away to the big straw poll down there, and, of course, somebody like Rick Santorum that's battling for name ID and battling to get into the mix. It's a really important time for them, not only Iowa, New Hampshire, obviously South Carolina, and the rest. And so, anyway, I'm guessing that's what's going on, and hopefully he'll join us before the bottom of the hour here, and we'll get a chance to catch up with him. If not, we'll reschedule that, and I'll depart from vacation another day to chit-chat with him as well on the Common Sense Club and the Scott Hannon Show. What's your take, Rob, on the presidential sweepstakes in Iowa? It's kind of been overshadowed, it seems. He's here. I was going to say about the whole debt debate. Senator Rick Santorum joining us on the Common Sense Club. We were surmising that some Iowa or New Hampshire voter had your ear, and it was much more important that you spend a little time with them. So we completely understand. How are you, sir?
As a matter of fact, it was an Iowa voter from Davenport who, in fact, did have my ear, and I apologize. But, it's got it first things first.
I said it's probably one of those deals where, one more thing, Senator, and another thing. And when
yeah. That's pretty much how it went. You got it right, but they volunteered to help put some people in a bus to help us out down in southeastern Iowa, and when someone says they can help us fill a bus to go to the straw poll, I'm going to listen to them for a while.
Yeah, no kidding. Senator Rick Santorum is with us. And by the way, Senator, first time we've had a chance to talk since the book came out, but you were gracious enough to endorse the book and talk about it being a must-read for anyone concerned about the future of this country. We had a chance to chronicle a very successful Tea Party movement and a group of God-fearing, Constitution-worshiping, freedom-loving folks that really are concerned about the direction of this country. And I know you're talking to those kind of folks in Iowa, New Hampshire, and all across the country in this presidential run that you've undertaken as well. But they're our last best hope in a time like this right now, aren't they?
Well, look, I mean, they already saved this country once, as far as I'm concerned. In the last election, but for the Tea Party, we would not have the majority in the House of Representatives that we have, and not be the bulwark of stopping the Obama expansion of government and corruption of our Constitution, and really robbing us of our fundamental freedoms ultimately. And you really see this in this whole debate on the debt ceiling. I mean, the tactic that the left are using here is, and seemingly effectively, which is scaring people, seniors and others who are dependent upon checks from Washington, D.C. Just think about this now. If health care goes into effect, and now everybody can be scared because everybody is going to be dependent upon government for some sort of vital services from them. And once that happens, there will be no end to the size of government.
You've been at the political game a long time. How has the Tea Party movement, you're seeing it play out in the presidential race now, but certainly we're seeing it as part of this debt debate. We saw it, as you mentioned, in 2010, and so much Obamacare. And look, Obamacare has been underwater in popularity, largely because folks have stood up and said, no, we're not taking what you're force feeding us any longer. How has the Tea Party movement changed the game in politics?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the Constitution. I mean, I can't remember in any time that I've been involved in politics for since I first ran for office almost 20 years ago, where we've had more of a discussion about what America is all about, who we are. What is our foundation? Why do we become the great country? I mean, it's really a time for reflection. It's really a time to sort of step back and take stock. How did we get here? What is America about? What is the key to our success? What will make us successful in the future? And the Tea Party legitimately has said, look, what made us successful were these constitutional principles of limited government and believing in free people. And those are the kinds of things that I think Americans need to be reminded of. Scott, you probably have talked about this on your show, but people talk about how bad our kids do in math and science. The worst subject for children in school is history. They don't know who we are. They have no idea what America's all about. I was talking about that when I was in Council Bluffs the other day, and a professor from Washburn University came up to me and said, I teach history. He says, you're absolutely right. He said, I give to my introductory history course, I hand out and have my students take the citizenship test, the test you have to take to become a citizen of this country. And you know what the pass rate is on that? 15%.
Did you say 15? 1 5?
1 5, 15, 10 to 15% of his incoming freshman class can pass the citizenship test, and the average score is 40%.
Now there is a crisis, but given the fact that the Great American Experiment is such an important part of this discussion right now, and talking about the basis of the founding of this country, for crying out loud, do the scare tactics that you talked about being played out in the debt debate, and the tired old scare the seniors, you're not going to get your check, and vets won't get check, does it work anymore? I mean, are we beyond that now, given the condition we're in this country, to say stop scaring us, fix this problem, stop spending, get this under control? I mean, will their tactics work?
Well, there's an element that, of course, that continues to work on. I mean, if you look at let's just look at the polls. That there are folks who are beginning to side with Obama, that they're afraid. And again, it's this whole idea that the left has been advocating and successfully doing, which is gradually getting more and more and more Americans dependent upon some check from the federal government. And you're now close to 50% of the American people get some check. And of course, if Obamacare is implemented, it will be close to 100%. And as a result of that, I say this on the campaign trail, America as we know it will be gone. That we will be the generation that gave away what made this country great, what gave away our independence, that gave away our dependency on government. We left England because we were subjects of the state. The king handed out the rights. We will now have gone back, and instead of electing a king, we will elect a lord called the president, and the Congress, who will lord over us and give us what they deign to give us as rights and responsibilities. As
you are pressing the flesh in this presidential run, where we're praying for you every day, by the way, out there making the case for freedom-loving people.
Thank you so much.
But what is your sense of the best way forward? Is it the House version of cut, cap, and balance? Is it Obama and the Gang of Six that Tom Coburn's now rejoined, being the news that Obama endorsed that today? Is it the McConnell plan to say, hey, put this on Obama's plate, we can't get what we want? What is your sense of what the people want here? What should they do?
To me, the most important thing, what the election was all about, was to put a restraint on government, to protect our liberties. And the way you do that, I'm in cap and balance. I was one of the first people to sign it, and I think we should advocate for that. We should advocate for the repeal of Obamacare. But the bottom line for me, Scott, and you know this because you've followed Washington for a long time, nothing in Washington gets done until there is a crisis. And we see it now, until there's a threat of default, no one was serious about cutting the deficit. No one was serious about doing anything in Washington, even now. Because it's not really a requirement to cut the deficit, you're going to see all sorts of games played as to what's being done. Even the Gang of Six, most of these cuts are long-term, they're unspecified. The bottom line is, the only way we're going to get Washington under control is to do something that's never been done. Pass a balanced budget amendment. The Senate version is 18% of GDP, would be the cap in government. The House version is 20%. Look, I'm flexible as to what that percentage is. But I'm not flexible that we have to get to a balanced budget. That is the essential element. We must have some backstop to give spines to members of Congress to stand up and do the right thing and put our country back in sound fiscal shape.
And do you buy the Armageddon if we don't get it? I mean, I've seen some people say, wait a minute, there's enough money coming in. We can manage this month to month to prove to people that this is serious and ultimately don't scare us and tell us that if, in fact, we don't have a deal pre-August 2nd, that the world's going to come to an end. Or do you buy they have to do a deal before the deadline?
Yeah, the world will only come to an end, Scott, if the president chooses that. If there's enough money coming in to pay the debts, to pay Social Security, to pay all the things that are the most loved by the American people, if you will, or the things that are real obligations to do. That and that will certainly be the case for a while. Over time, that will be less and less likely. We'll be we'll have more and more constraints. But certainly for the next few weeks, this is not a crisis at this point. There'll certainly be closures. There'll certainly be things the government won't be able to do. But as you saw in Minnesota, that wasn't the end of the world. And the same would be the case in Congress. We need to stand firm and tell tell the liberals that we are going to require a balanced budget before we pass this debt ceiling increase. It is not overnight. It doesn't mean you have to get there tomorrow. It's a requirement that you balance the budget. You have to have it ratified by the state, so it's not even a sure thing. And it's 5 years after implementation before it goes into effect. So you've got 7 or 8 years to put you on a glide path. But the point is a certainty that we will, in fact, get to that balanced budget, and we'll never have to raise the debt ceiling again.
All right, you got 30 seconds to tell me how you're going to be the Republican nominee.
We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're just going to work hard. We've got a strong message of an authentic conservative who knows how to get things done. I've proven that I can cut entitlements. I've proven that I can go down to Washington, D.C. and go to the American public and get Republicans and Democrats to come to the table and get things done on a variety of national security, moral, cultural, as well as economic. And the more I'm in this race and people see the record and see that's not just rhetoric, and I've been consistent over time, no flip-flopping, I'll be the guy that the people, the Tea Parties as well as everybody else, hopefully will support.
Glad you're in that debate. Thanks for your support at Grassroots. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Rick Santorum, Senator from Pennsylvania, presidential candidate, our guest on the Scott Innes Show. More on the Common Sense Club with Rob Porter, the Same Thing blog, when we continue.